I want to walk through how important it is to include a little detail about yourself, even if it's not true, in order to get sufficient responses from these large language models. So if I type into ChatGPT-4, asking it for a BLT recipe and guidance on how to make it, I'll get a response that's simple enough, something that we've probably all seen before, relatively common, right? 2 pieces of bread, some bacon, lettuce, tomato, and a little bit of options and instructions on how to do that, right? So I'll let that finish up, and then we'll move on to what I suggest we might think about when prompting these tools. Okay, and just for fun, let's go into Claude as well. This you can see is Claude 3 that was just released. We'll do the same thing and let it generate that response. Probably will look very similar. Okay, so we got some of the tips that showed up as optional in the ChatGPT-4 response, but basic BLT sandwich. All right, let's move on from here and start a new chat. Okay, this time I'm going to give it a little bit of context to this about who I am. So if I tell it I'm a French-trained chef with a degree from Le Cordon Bleu and I'd like a recipe for a BLT and guidance on how to make it, and you might even put in something additional like you're cooking for the President of the United States or something like that. But let's just see what it does with this simple little change around the same topic. So now you can see we've got considerations around the high quality bacon, artisanal or smoked bacon. It's suggesting Bib lettuce, and we've got the description of the tomatoes. So you can see all of the additional context that it provides as soon as it knows that we might not be satisfied with a typical default response. We've also got quite a bit more in terms of the instructions that are offered. So even in a simple example like this, we want to consider what it's providing if we're going to use responses, especially if we put those responses in front of learners. Let's see what Claude has to say. Okay, so you can see the differences already in that previous default response. We're getting some more guidance around the type of bread, the type of bacon, tomatoes. We've even got our homemade mayonnaise here, and the instructions are much more specific. This is what I want people to consider as one of their prompting tools when they're working with large language models, is that if it thinks that you are someone that isn't going to be satisfied with a default response, it will give you more context and more directions. So start thinking about how you want to describe yourself in the context of your prompts.